Star Wars has always been a franchise doused in fan controversy. Both the prequel and the sequel trilogies have been put through the ringer for not meeting the standards of the originals. When you make a change to the sacred original trilogy though, well, that's a whole nother level of uproar. And that's exactly what happened when George Lucas replaced Anakin's Force Ghost in Episode 6. Why did George Lucas change Anakin's Force Ghost? Back in the day, when the prequels were still coming out, there was a lot of criticism from the fans. Both the writing and the actors playing these beloved characters were put under some harsh scrutiny. And you may love Hayden Christensen and his portrayal of Anakin Skywalker now, but back then, things were rough. Now imagine you're George Lucas during that era, and you make changes to the universally loved original trilogy for its DVD re-release. You didn't have to be a genius to figure out that things were gonna get ugly. And replacing Sebastian Shaw with Hayden Christensen as Anakin's Force Ghost at the end of Episode 6 was perhaps the most controversial change of the lot. The backlash was huge, with many refusing to accept that these new DVD versions of Return of the Jedi even existed. George Lucas, on the other hand, always had this plan in mind and never really considered the original trilogy as finished. So to him, this change was always on the cards, and he was just waiting for the prequels to catch up. His reasoning for the change is somewhat questionable, but he's the creator, so who are we to argue? In Lucas's view, when Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader, he died a metaphorical death, which is also Obi-Wan's belief. So when he later redeems himself and comes back to the light again, he resets back to his Jedi form. The change also connects the prequels and sequels together. If you still weren't convinced though, a new Star Wars novel has added even more context. Star Wars novel explores Anakin's Force Ghost capabilities. Lucasfilm has published an excerpt from an upcoming Star Wars novel called Shadow of the Sith. Written by Adam Christopher, the novel focuses on Luke Skywalker's quest to eradicate the Sith on Exegol. If you don't remember, Exegol was the planet where Emperor Palpatine was revived in the sequel trilogy, and it's considered to be one of the main Sith planets. And if you've watched the newer movies, you'd know that Luke doesn't actually succeed in the quest. The novel does reveal some extra details about his journey though. According to the excerpt, Luke does manage to get to the planet of Doom by teleporting mystically. However, he is confronted by many Sith spirits over there. But right when he has his back against the wall, guess who shows up? Yes, the Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker intervenes and helps his son in battle. And in this hyped up moment, Adam Christopher describes what Anakin's Force Ghost looks like. Here's how it goes. The blue figure lifted his hood back to reveal the strong, sharp base of a young man, his gaze intense beneath a furrowed brow that was bisected by a straight vertical scar. His thick hair was shoulder length and had a slight wave to it. Anakin Skywalker reached out his hand. Does this even make any sense? So there you have it. Anakin's Force Ghost is officially solidified as his younger form. And it makes sense as well, especially when you think about the fact that he is literally fighting the Sith alongside Luke. Before the sequel trilogy, Force Ghosts didn't really intervene in worldly matters and only observed things from afar. And even if things got really bad, all they did was offer their advice to the Jedi who were still alive. However, ever since The Last Jedi, they have started to play a bigger role in the real world and actually have some agency now. For instance, we have seen Luke's Force Ghost physically stop a lightsaber from falling into the fire and lifting his X-Wing back up in The Rise of Skywalker. With that said, this still doesn't really explain why Anakin's Force Ghost is young. To get to grips with that, we have to look at it from another perspective. Since he is now actively taking part in battle alongside Luke, he has to be very strong and agile. Obviously, in his older form, that wouldn't really be a thing. So it makes sense that we get an Anakin who is at the height of his powers and is capable of fighting the Sith spirits. Another detail that excerpt mentions is that upon seeing Anakin enter the fray, they all start to back off. Of course, if you're a bad guy and one of the greatest Jedi commanders enters the battle, the wise thing would be to avoid him. This moment perfectly encapsulates why Anakin's Force Ghost has to be young and menacing, rather than an old man in Jedi robes. He is a force to be reckoned with even in the afterlife, and his mere presence is enough to make the enemies flee. Will we see other Force Ghosts more frequently now? The fact that a Force Ghost can step into battle and fight alongside the other Jedi means that Lucasfilm is ready to go full blast in this direction. We have already seen them provide support in their non-physical forms at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, but this is a new direction that hasn't been explored before. Of course, writing about a Force Ghost showing up to fight and actually doing it in a TV show or a movie are different things. For starters, if a movie needs an older Jedi to show up again, you'd have to recast the actor in their previous role. That's the tricky part, as getting actors like Samuel L. Jackson and Liam Neeson, who played Mace Windu and Qui-Gon Jinn respectively, isn't the easiest thing in the world now. And this is probably why we only got their voices in Star Wars Episode 9 and not their actual forms. In animated shows though, it would be simple enough to include more Force Ghosts. Also, just in case you're wondering why the other Force Ghosts don't take their younger forms, that's because they never turned to the dark side and didn't experience the metaphorical death like Anakin Skywalker. So, in essence, Anakin the Jedi died when he became Darth Vader, which is why his ghost form reverts to his Last Jedi form. Obi-Wan Kenobi will answer a lot of questions. With that said, Disney is known to dish out a lot of cash when it comes to a Star Wars production. This is exactly why the upcoming limited time series Obi-Wan Kenobi is being so hyped, as we get to see our favorite actors actors return to their roles once again. And since the series tackles Obi-Wan's life after Order 66 and how he deals with being a lone Jedi trying to protect Luke Skywalker on Tatooine, there will be a lot of surprises. We know that by Episode 4, A New Hope, Obi-Wan has already mastered the art of turning into a Force ghost after perishing away, so we can expect him to strengthen his Jedi prowess and tap into the Force to commute with older Jedis like his master Qui-Gon for guidance. Whether we'll get these Jedis in their actual forms remains to be seen, but judging from Lucasfilm's recent track record of bringing older actors back as a surprise cameos in their series like The Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, the chance of Liam Neeson actually showing up aren't as low as you'd think. Expect to see a lot more Anakin Skywalker in the future. While the initial reactions to his character weren't great, Hayden Christensen is now universally loved by Star Wars fans, and the news of his return as Anakin Skywalker in Obi-Wan Kenobi has sparked a real sense of excitement among the fandom. Of course, since Darth Vader is still alive during the timeline of the show, he won't be a Force ghost. But this will be the first time we actually see him be Darth Vader for longer than 15 seconds. We have already seen images of Christensen getting into his new Vader suit, but it remains to be seen how much of his appearance in the show is as Darth Vader and how much of it's Kenobi's flashbacks. Not only that, but his return to acting within the Star Wars universe means that we can potentially see him in other areas too. Let's say that Disney decides to adapt the new Star Wars novel into a TV show or a movie as well, showing Luke's journey before the sequel trilogy. Now, who wouldn't want to see Anakin fighting the Sith again alongside his son? We haven't seen him in action as a Jedi since Order 66, so it would be badass to see the hero of the Clone Wars again. Either way, it is an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan, and we can't wait to see what's next. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think we'll start to see more Force Ghost appearances in Star Wars screen adaptations now? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one!